Hello, it's Elizabeth, Countess of Low Carb here. Happy Sunday, my loves. Happy Sunday. Today is our reschedule for Dr. Ken Facebook Live. I'm so excited to have Dr. Ken coming up, and he's going to answer all of your ketogenics questions coming up next. It's Elizabeth, Countess of Low Carb, and quick editor's note, this is part 2 of 2 from the video. It was so long, our Facebook Live was so long, I made it into a 2-part series. So if you like this video, click like, click subscribe. Would love to show you the rest of the video, and I'll put it in the description link below so you can see the other one. Someone wanted me to ask you about iodized salt. I know sea salts, Himalayan salts are better, which I want to know before I go, why are Himalayan salts better?
So it's not necessarily Himalayan salt. What you want is an unprocessed sea salt. It can be Himalayan, it can be Celtic, and you really don't want it. You want it to be from a dead sea, a buried sea. You don't want people taking seawater now and making sea salt out of it, because it might have some other stuff, right, that we don't really want. But a dead sea that's buried, that they have to tunnel down and get to the salt, that salt is so pure. And the reason I recommend that salt is because all salt has sodium and chloride, right? But the unprocessed sea salts also have a little magnesium, some manganese, some cobalt, some molybdenum. They have like literally 50 different micro minerals that a lot of people have never even heard of before, some of which are very vital for optimal body function. And so if you're using Umbrella Girl salt, you're getting sodium and chloride. That's it. Okay. And you might be getting some iodine. We'll talk about that in a second, but you also might not be. And we'll talk about that. But the unprocessed sea salts have all these other nutrients, all these other minerals that you really need, and that they really don't appear anywhere else in the diet. And unprocessed sea salt, you can actually use at liberty. It does not raise your blood pressure. There's no evidence to show that it does. There's no evidence that shows that salt really in general is bad for you, but definitely not an unprocessed sea salt, okay? Now, let's talk about the iodine issue. Iodine is a big deal, Nisha and I use a supplement called Lugol solution, and we use the 2%, and we put 2 or 3 drops in our coffee every morning, and that gives us a milligram or 2 of iodine. And some doctors will freak out about that, like, oh, you can overdose on iodine. Well, that's dumb, and here's why. In Japan, they eat so much seafood that the average person there gets about 15 or 16 milligrams a day of iodine. And I'm getting a milligram, and I'm going to overdose? No, that's dumb, right? No. So, yeah, exactly. So don't worry about that. You don't want to be using 25 drops of Lugols, but if you're using a drop or 2, you're going to get good iodine, but you're not ever going to overdose, okay? If you have normal kidney function, you'll just pee out the extra iodine. That's what will happen. So we've got pee and poop, check. Okay, now, so what about Umbrella Girl salt? It has iodine in it, and we need iodine. Okay, here's the problem. If you got some Umbrella Girl salt that came right off the assembly line, and you took it straight home and used it, it would have iodine, and that'd be great. But iodine does something. It's called sublimation. And when the Umbrella Girl salt sits on the counter for 6 months back in the warehouse and then sits on the shelf for 2 months, most of the iodine sublimates out of the salt and it's gone. Right? There's actually studies that show that there's very little iodine. And back in the 70s, they used to use iodine to make bread rise. And so bread used to be a good source of iodine. But for some reason, they stopped that in the 70s and started using bromide or bromine to make bread rise. And now you just get bromine. And a lot of experts think, I don't know if you guys remember your periodic table of the elements, but iodine and bromine and chlorine and fluoride all are in the same row. And that means that they look similar chemically, right? And they tend to fit in the same receptors. And so a lot of experts think that if you're drinking fluoridated water, and also you got chlorine in your water, and then you're eating a lot of bread that's been brominated, that those halogens are basically blocking up all the receptors that iodine should be sticking on. And therefore, even if you're getting any iodine, it's not really get in the receptor chemically, and you're not making use of it, right? And so we don't drink city water. We have a reverse osmosis unit, and so we don't have fluoride or chlorine in our water. And so that takes 2 of the halides out. We never eat commercially prepared bread ever, so that takes the bromine out. So what iodine we do get, our receptors are clean and just waiting for that iodine so they can reach out and grab it. Okay,
Oh,
because
so how do we get these little drops you were speaking of?
most
Do I
health
put
food
them in a link?
stores, and I'll tell you, it's spelled Lugol apostrophe S. It's named after
Okay.
Dr. Lugol. Okay, and you can get it on Amazon. You can get it at health food stores. There's a 2% and there's a 5%. But I tell people, get the 2%. That way, you know you're
Okay.
never going to overdose and freak your doctor out, right? Because it's a lower concentration. But you
Okay.
need a little iodine every day. Your thyroid gland absolutely cannot function properly without enough iodine. It's an impossibility, and that's without iodine, you'll die. That's truth. If you don't have any iodine for a certain amount of time, you will get sick, suffer, and die. That's the end of that. There's no doctor can argue that. And so, ask your doctor, well, where am I getting iodine from? And if he says iodized salt, he's kind of behind the times. He probably needs to do a little more reading, okay? And so I tell him there's different forms. There's tablets and capsules and powders you can get iodine in. Some people eat seafood or eat seaweed to get, and that's another good way to do it. You can eat the, what is that, nori? You can get it out there. They have like seaweed chips, which are green, but they're pretty tasty. I like them. But every time we go into the city, we go to, what's that place, Nisha? We get the the seaweed chips. I can't remember. World Market, yeah. They have good seaweed chips. And so I always get some seaweed chips, but you need a little iodine. And so however you have to get it in your diet, you need to get it. But I wouldn't really trust the Umbrella Girl salt to get iodine.
Wow. So what salt should we be getting? What should we be purchasing?
So I don't really do brands. I don't really promote brands, but what I'm going to tell you is you want to get an unprocessed sea salt that was made from an extinct sea, right? So usually Himalayan or Celtic are the two. And Celtic salt is kind of a gray, almost black sometimes, but it's very tasty. There's a company in Australia called 424 Salt. If you Google 424 Salt, and they have salt from the Dead Sea. They have salt from all over the world, different flavors. They've got, what all do they have? Rosemary salt. They have different I can't even think. I don't know. They've got like 50 different kinds of salt, and they actually sent me some samples, and it was very delicious. Some of the salt was very salty, but other salts are very mild and very smooth and really, really delicious. But they were all from dead seas, either the Dead Sea or some other Dead Sea, and so that way you know that there's no pollution in that sea because that sea stopped being a sea thousands of years ago, and so they have to tunnel down and actually mine the salt.
Wow. So for the folks that are watching the replay, I'm going to put in the description link or below what he's referencing, what Dr. Kendi Berry is referencing, because that's some really good stuff. I am learning so much. I'm learning so much. I'm like a little sponge over here because I didn't know all this. And this is why Dr. Ken has the #1 best-selling Amazon book. Really,
well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
No, it does. I saw on Amazon. It's
no,
#1
it is,
best-selling. It
it
has a little...
Yeah, it does. You're right. Yeah. And the first time I saw that, let me tell you what, I freaked out a little bit. I was like,
did you?
What the hell? What?
Yeah.
And so I went and looked at the metrics, and I was like, yeah, it's bestseller in this little category. And I was blown away a little bit. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. I'll send you a link on Amazon if you want me to, Countess, and that you can post it. I already have it
posted.
Oh, you got
it's
it.
already
Beautiful.
posted.
Beautiful. Okay.
The Countess is already on top of that.
Nice.
We love Amazon because yes, we love it. Love it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about, I had someone ask a controversial question. I don't want to make you mad. I don't want to poke the bear, but I feel like this is a bit of a poking question. Okay. There's other questions which we're going to get to. Do you have time? We're past, it's been a half an hour. Is that okay? Can we keep going for a little bit?
Let's do this controversial question and one more.
Okay. So this is someone who's written me. Although I love this diet, to say that the diet were people 100,000 years ago is a mistake because according to 3 sources I checked, no one lived past 30 back then. Now I realize that people are being torn apart by saber-tooths a lot more often than they are in the present. But if people are living so much shorter lives then, maybe the reference to our ancestors' lives might not be the topic worth touching on. Just a thought.
No, it's an excellent thought, and I love it when people think like that. 30,000 years ago, people lived an average of 30, 35 years, and that's the average. And we have to remember that. That doesn't mean you lived to 35 and died. That means that was the average life expectancy, right? And the thing that got people back then, number one, was infection, right? Because they didn't know about hygiene.
Yeah.
They didn't know about, washing your butt and, all the stuff we just take for granted now.
You and your butts.
I
You and your poopy butts.
I know. And so
Get some wipes.
you gotta wash your butt, right? But they didn't know about that, and they literally lived in the muck and the mire. You slept on the ground, and so infection was a big deal. It killed a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
The next, probably most common, was trauma, because back then, if you broke your leg or broke your ankle, you're dead. You weren't going to live, right? Especially if it was a compound fracture, you were dead. The tribe would just leave you behind because there's no way you're going to recover from that. You're going to die. If you fell and hit your head, you're dead. If you had a big cut, if you had a tree limb stab into your arm, you were dead because you were going to get infected and you were going to die. That's what was going to happen, because they didn't even know enough to cut your arm off back then, and then you would have died from that anyway, so it was pointless. But those were the two biggest killers back then. But when you take those out, when you say, okay, did anybody live past 35? And the answer is definitely yes, because we've got that in the fossil record. Once they got past kind of that average, they lived very old, robust lives. And something else they never had was a cavity. Every skull they find has all the teeth, unless they've been knocked out with trauma. They never had cavities because they ate a ketogenic diet. There was no sugar. They had once a year, they ate the fruit, and that was it, right? Wow. And so they had no cavities because the bacteria in your mouth has to have sugar to break down your teeth. That's known. Everybody knows that. And yet people give their kids sugar and then cry because their kid got a cavity. It's like, yeah, dude, that's going to happen if you give your kid sugar. So, yeah. But now that's a very good question. And I don't disagree with anything that the person said. But my point is once they lived past that average, they lived to be very old, very robust. And you could definitely imagine a 60, 65-year-old running around still having a six-pack, because there was no reason he didn't. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I've read multiple accounts where that is the fact that, yeah, people died young on average, no doubt about it. You died in childbirth, you died from trauma, and you died from infection, right? But once you take all that out of the equation, people lived healthy, robust, and they weren't 60 and walking around on a cane and all their joints hurt and they couldn't do anything because the tribe would leave you behind. They didn't have time for that because it was life or death back then. And so you had to either basically put out or get out. And so these people, they were still very active. Their bones are very, very strong, even into their 50s and 60s, which tells you they were still active and weight bearing, because, if you lay around, your bones get very weak. And so these 50, 60, 70-year-olds weren't laying around. They were pulling their part. They were doing their part in the tribe. And so that's why their bone density was still so strong.
My favorite thing is when you talk like Dr. Phil. I love it. What's my favorite?
What's the next one?
Okay. Do I just have one, or can I have a few more?
Let's do two more.
Okay, two more. So someone's having a plateau. I've gotten a lot of questions on this too. You're having a plateau. You think that you're doing all the right things, which I have a video coming out on this later on, because I'm a mom to a 2-year-old and I'm not sleeping and I have completely plateaued. But I know it's because I'm not sleeping. I'm also stressed because I'm in pre-production for a TV show and doing all these things.
That's exactly
and for me, that's what, but if someone's having a plateau, what should be, why?
So let me give you a list of potential reasons. So weight gain and weight loss are hormonal things. Hormones are in charge of weight loss and weight gain. Got to understand that, first of all. It's not a calorie issue. It's a hormone issue. So the reason we eat ketogenic and eat such low carb is to keep our insulin hormone very, very low normal, right? Because that's when you start burning the fat on your booty and in your belly, and worst of all, in your liver and pancreas. There's another hormone, however, right, called cortisol. And when you're in pre-production for a show, right, and when you've got all these businesses and all these plates spinning, guess what's going to be elevated? Your cortisol level, because you got stress. Yeah. And, it's really kind of good stress because you're very happy about all these things going on. Yes. But too much of any kind of stress is bad stress. So doing a few squats in the gym is good stress. That's good. It helps you grow. But if you're doing 1,000 squats, that's bad stress, and that's bad for you. Just like if you go jog a mile, it's probably good for you. That's probably okay. But if you're an ultra marathoner, That's terrible stress. And even somebody who used to be an elite level ultra athlete like Mark Sisson will tell you, yeah, it was terrible for my body. I should have never done that, but I thought at the time it was good for me. But too much of any kind of stress, it raises your cortisol level, and cortisol can shut off fat loss just as quickly as elevated insulin. That's number one and number two. Number three is look for carb creep. There are sneaky sugars and creepy carbs that will get back in your diet, and you think you're doing great, but you're so busy with all the other plates spinning in your life that you haven't really looked at your food lately, and you have to do that. 30,000 years ago, our ancestors didn't have to look at their food. It was all keto. It was either eat keto or die. But today we've got so many options, so many choices that, you know, the barbecue sauce that you maybe were putting on your ribs might have 4 grams of sugar. Who knew, right? I mean, hot wing sauce, buffalo sauce, that's hot. It's got tons of sugar if you don't watch it. You got to watch those kinds of things. So I tell people, anytime your food has a label, you've got to look at the label, because the big food's not in business for your health. They're in business to make a profit. They don't give a damn if you starve. They don't care. They just want you to eat their product, and they're going to make it tasty. And to do that, they're going to put sugar in it, right? And so that's the next thing is sneaky sugars and creepy carbs. The next thing is if you've got all that stuff and you're like, no, dude, I'm sleeping good. I got no stress. I know I'm not got any sugars or starches. I know my insulin's low. I'm still not losing weight. Then you need to go see your doctor and say, hey, I need you to check my thyroid, because that will shut off your weight loss. If you've got an undiagnosed low thyroid, or if you've got an undiagnosed hyperthyroid that's burnt out, you will gain weight. You will be fatigued. You will gain weight. You will not feel good at all. And so the next thing, if that's normal, is to check your gender hormones, testosterone in a man, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone in a woman. Because if you're getting in your late 30s or older, those things are starting to go down. And the first two to go down are progesterone and testosterone. And a lot of doctors don't talk about those two because they don't understand them. But those are the two that help you. They help make it less hard to lose weight, okay? And that's why when you're 20, you can miss a meal and lose a pound, right? It's easy. You don't even have to try. But when you're 60, you got to work to get a pound off. And that's why, because your hormones are so much different. The ratios are different, and everything in general is lower. And so that's kind of the list that I go down through with people. And usually at some point on that list, we're like, yeah, boom, it's your thyroid. There you go. We'll fix that. Then the weight loss picks that back up. In your case, my 20 bucks says it's all the stress, even though, you know, you should be very proud of what you're doing. It's awesome. But all that stress that'll snag you. It'll slow you down. So, you know, this is not going to be forever. Your life's not going to be this stressful forever. You know, one day your baby will go to the bathroom and you won't have to help. And so that's one good thing, right? And then, you know, everything will be done that you're in production right now. So then your stress level will be better. You'll be sleeping better. But another thing to always think about in any woman who's not sleeping good is you better get that progesterone and testosterone checked, because when they go down, the sleep just goes to the crapper. It just stops being good sleep.
Well, I won't be less stressed because once my show gets done getting wrapped up, because my publicist called and we're talking with Betty White's publicist. I'm very excited. But once my show is done, then I'm doing your show. I'm putting it out. I'm secreting in it. I'm already putting it out to the universe that I will put you in my production company that I will be starting to have you have your own show.
Let's do it.
You should really, it's coming.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm always ready.
Okay, so someone had asked a question about hypothyroid and hyperthyroid, which you just alluded to and talked about or whatever. Is somebody having a it's basically, I know it's not the same thing, but it is the same thing. It's the hormones are going to be better if you have hyper or hypo through the ketogenic diet and just continue staying on the ketogenic diet.
Yeah, if you have hyper or hypothyroidism, you don't need to try to fix them with just diet. You need to go see your doctor. You need to have routine lab work checked, because sometimes you need medication for that. Sometimes nothing in your diet can fix that. Sometimes it's thyroid cancer. You don't know what it is until you've been checked out by your doctor and make sure that it's just hypothyroid or it's just hyperthyroid. Hyperthyroid, when it first starts, most people lose weight. They're just bundles of energy. But then as it goes on, it can do what's called burning out. And then you're tired, you gain weight, you feel like crap, you feel miserable. And then, because usually your thyroid's dying after the hyper event, and then you become hypo is what normally happens. But that's the thing with the thyroid is you might be able to improve hypothyroidism with the ketogenic diet. And I've kind of seen some people that it really looks like they did do that. I had to decrease their medication because their thyroid conditions seemed to be better. And I'm okay with that. That doesn't hurt my feelings one bit.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
high thyroid, you got to see your doctor. You're probably not going to be able to really touch that with your diet.
There was this person had asked more in-depth questions. I'm just trying to reference back to it because I know that they really wanted me to hit on that, and they had asked several weeks in a row. Where is it? I'm not finding it.
That's okay. Hey, Lorianne said synthetic thyroid meds versus natural. Lorianne,
yeah,
I'm going to let you answer that. Yes, of course you want the natural desiccated thyroid product. You don't want fake T4. You don't want Synthroid, which is synthetic. You don't want that. You want real thyroid hormone replacement that has T1, T2, T3, and T4 in it. That's what you want. Yeah. Sorry, I just saw that question.
I like have the hankering to go check my bottle label right now.
Go check that out. And if you are taking Synthroid or levothyroxine, that's fake T4, and that's not going to give you the optimized thyroid function that you want. It's just not. It's fake. It's not real. It's made in a factory. Why? And so fake T4 doesn't fit into the receptor. When it's converted to T3, it just it's not the same shape chemically. It just doesn't fit into all the receptors like it should, and so you just don't have the proper thyroid function with that.
Good. I really feel like I want to go run and check my bot. I'm going to go check that. Thank you. Was it Leanne who asked that? Thank you, Leanne, for asking that. Or Lorianne. Thank you, Lorianne.
Very good question.
Wait, I feel like we need to end on a zinger.
Yes.
A zinger question. There's still like so many, tons. I have tons and tons of questions. So folks below, put your questions. I promise I'll reference them. I have an ongoing log on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook of everyone's questions. I promise that I will make sure that we get to them at some point, since we haven't gotten to everything now. What do you want to, do you have something, do you want to, do you want me to turn it over to you?
Well, you know what, let's talk about, Nisha and I just went live on the Facebook page today about fatty liver.
Yes.
Fatty liver is a huge epidemic in the U.S. It's estimated that about 40 to 50% of adults have a fatty liver to some degree, and that is terrible. Even kids, the report I read said that probably 10% of children have fatty liver. And this is not caused from alcohol use. This is not caused from acetaminophen overdose. It's not caused from hepatitis. It's caused from the stupid American diet. That's what's causing this, okay? There are literally teenagers on the liver transplant list because they have liver failure from fatty liver from the crap diet that they were fed their entire life. And so I've got 3 videos about fatty liver on the YouTube channel right now, and I just posted the last one today. And so if anybody doesn't understand what's up with fatty liver, why that's a thing, what diet causes it, what diet prevents it, then please leave a comment in the comments here on this one, and Countess and I will try our best to answer every single one. Or you can also leave comments on the YouTube channel. That's fine too, either way. But I just want people to wake up and understand the main reason people are on the liver transplant list today is not because they're alcoholics. It's not because they had hepatitis. It's because they have fatty liver. And that's stupid. It is a self-inflicted liver condition. It's caused by eating the stupid American diet. It's completely 100% preventable, yet no doctor's talking about it. And so if you go to the doctor and say, hey, man, I want you to check my liver enzymes, and he does, and he says, well, they're 2 or 3 points high. It's not a big deal. We'll just watch it. If your liver labs are 1 point high, that is a big deal, okay? Big, huge deal. You need to get dead serious about your diet. That's just like your hemoglobin A1C for your blood sugar. If it's 1/10 of a point high, a lot of docs will say, well, that's not bad. That's pretty good. We'll just watch it. No, ma'am. That is terrible. It could be worse, yeah. But if it's 1/10 of a point high, that means you're insulin resistant. That means you're going to become a type 2 diabetic if you don't fix your stuff. Fix your diet. You got to fix your diet. And so type 2 diabetes and fatty liver disease are both entirely preventable by fixing your diet.
So I saw your post about fatty liver, and everybody go run over after we conclude this, go run over to Dr. Ken's YouTube and watch his amazing videos. And I saw them and I kind of skimmed past them because I'm like, those are for alcoholics. Those are people who drink too much.
No, those are for your kids. That's exactly right. There are 10% of the kids of the parents who are watching this video right now, of all you adults out there, 10% of the kids already have fatty liver right now. Your kids have fatty liver. 4 out of 10 people watching this have fatty liver, not from eating the ketogenic diet, but from eating the crap diet they were eating in the past, right? And so the more ketogenic you eat, the better your fatty liver gets. And that's the whole point of my video, is when you stop eating the sugars and the starches and the simple carbs, your fatty liver gets better. That's the beauty of this. No doctor can fix your fatty liver. No pill can fix it. There is no supplement. Doctor fill in the blanks, liver supplement. None of that crap will help your liver. You've got to get the sugar and the starches and the simple carbs out of your diet. That's what's got to happen.
How do you know if you have fatty liver?
So you go to the doctor, and that's what this last one was about, was how to tell. Okay, but you just ask for lab tests, and any doctor is going to know which test to check your liver. But now let me tell you this, and this is really scary. For most radiologists, that's who will read the ultrasound or the CAT scan of your abdomen. They see fatty liver so commonly on the scans that they don't even comment on it on the reports that they send back to your family doctor. Yeah, true story. And so all my radiologists that I use now, I've told them specifically, you're going to comment, yes, they do, or no, they don't have fat in their liver and fat in their pancreas, which is even worse, okay? And so now they know to do that for me, but there are so many radiologists. When I was researching for this, I saw a YouTube video of a radiologist, and he was doing a scan, and he was just talking. He was teaching med students. And he's like, and you can see there's some fat in the liver there, a little streaking, and that's fat in the pancreas. Most adults have that. It's no big deal. And I was like, whoa. Yeah, exactly. He literally said that, and he was on YouTube as a physician saying that fatty liver is not that big of a deal. And that's, we've got an epidemic of fatty liver and people's livers failing left and right. And if you have a little fat in your liver, it's not like your liver's magically going to fail. This takes years to build up. But why start down that road, right? The only way to get to Nashville is to get on the road and go there. Don't start. If you don't want to wind up on the liver transplant list, stop the sugar, stop the starches, stop the simple carbs right now, because that's what will lead you to it. And so I predict if the ketogenic diet reaches a tipping point and everybody really jumps on board and does this, the fatty liver epidemic will go away. Just like type 2 diabetes will just cease to be a thing. We'll be like, I know one guy with it, but it's rare, right? Like it used to be back in the 1920s. Nobody had type 2 diabetes back then. It was just unheard of. And now children have type 2 diabetes. Children have fatty liver. What the hell? Doctors ought to really literally hang their head in shame when they say, oh, your liver's just a little bit fatty. It's not a big deal. Yeah, no. So I go into more detail on the YouTube videos, but yeah, you can tell that gets me a little triggered that docs just be like, oh, that's no big deal. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. All right,
good deal.
Well, what's not ridiculous is thank you so much for being on. We'll be back again on Friday at our same channel, same time, same station. Thank you so much, everybody. Go check out Dr. Ken's book. Go check out his YouTube and check out his Facebook. And thanks so much for being here tonight.
Thanks so much, Countess. See you next time.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Hey, if you like this video, click like, click subscribe. We are going to make this a 2-part series, so the second video will be coming up on a different episode, and I'll